Xin Jiao, hello, salam. My name is Saima. I am a former volunteer with CSDS. I live and work in New York, and I am here with Kirstin Rule. Take it away, Kirstin.
Hello, I am Kirstin. I am also a former CSDS volunteer who is now living and working properly in Hanoi, Vietnam.
Hi, Kirstin. So we're going to get into that today. That is the subject of Kirstin's journey and where she is now with CSDS, I believe in 2018, correct?
Yes, almost 8 years ago now, which is wild.
Yeah, and I did as well. I left right before
I
you
think we
came.
just, yeah, we just crossed over.
And we met online and then we met in
Yeah.
person. All right. And then, but between 2018 and now, you also returned and visited as well in Vietnam. So, what made you decide to move to Vietnam and work rather than just return for visits?
So in 2018, when I first took that trip, the whole reason I was taking this gap year volunteering trip was because things happened at home, things weren't going the right way. So I was like, okay, we're going to take a step, we're going to take a pause, we're going to do something completely different, something out of my comfort zone. So very spontaneously, I can't remember exactly how I ended up with CSDS in Vietnam, but that's where I ended up. And to an extent, I've never looked back. That was really much the light at the end of my tunnel.
That sounds very good. All right. So that's when you decided to actually come to Hanoi because you volunteered with CSDS in Hanoi, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So it's kind of like you already knew your way around. But that now you're moving to be a resident and to work. And so that brings me to the next question. What is the main difference between volunteering for a short time and coming back to somewhere you already know, but now being in it full time, like this is where I am?
The main difference is, of course, the novelty wears off to an extent because when you're volunteering and traveling, it's all so exciting and new. And it's, there's this ending in sight, but you've got so much ahead of you to get to that point. Whereas, obviously, now, yes, I still love life here. It's a lot more freeing than back home. But obviously, I get up every morning, I go to work, I do my laundry, I do my groceries, I do my cooking. It's normal life now, daily life, chores.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I live in New York and people are like, oh, it must be so exciting. I'm like, well, yeah, you still got to do laundry. And there are days like it's raining. I don't want to go to work, but I have to. I work in a theater. There's kind of no remote work when there's a theater.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I totally get you on that. It's like, yes, of course I appreciate it. I love that people want to come here for vacation, but it doesn't change the fact that I have to go pick up aspirin and I don't know when I'm going to do that, things like that.
Yeah.
All right. So when did you move permanently again, please?
Just almost a year and a half ago, last summer.
Okay, I think it was in July 2024,
Yes,
something
July
like that.
24th.
So, what do you wish you knew before you moved? And conversely, what do you think nobody could have possibly prepared you for? Like, no matter how much advice they gave you beforehand, you just had to experience to know it.
Bouncing back to my or adding on to my previous question answer, sorry. Um, it's all there's life admin wherever you go, wherever you're doing in the world. But when you're doing it outside of your home country and you've got all the visa stuff, all the rent, all the bank accounts, all the phone bills, etc., etc., doing that outside of your home country is a lot more complicated than not. And of course, I knew that coming in, like that was part of the journey, part of the process. But I don't think until you're actually in it and doing it, you realize just how overwhelming and stressful it actually is to do that all.
So, how did you handle it? Like the stress?
Good question. I had to break it down into baby steps. there was only so much I could do before it was then out of my hands and to whoever, I handed the applications to, and it was their turn. It was their turn to do the process, etc. So once I had done everything from my side and had everything ready, I just had to put trust in other people's hands.
Yeah. And you find it pays off? You can trust them, or
Yes,
did you have
it
to
took a
follow
long
up a lot?
time, but yeah, we got there.
I know as like as someone who's worked in federal government, I'm like everything takes a long time when it comes to bureaucracy. And then you worry, it's like, did they forget about me? It's been months. But that's just the process, it just takes a
Yeah.
long time. Fair enough. All right. What is your favorite moment? If I'm gonna say, what are your favorite two moments? Because it might be hard to pick just one of your first year living permanently there.
So one of my favorite moments is actually only happened summer just past. Um, so obviously I've been here a year and a half now, but it was this summer that all my hard work had paid off and I landed that job in my dream school. And that is a feeling that I may never fully experience again, but I just remember that like, oh my God, like everything I've done over these past few years has actually got me to where I want to be. Like a school has noticed that and taken me in, etc. That was, yeah, that's a feeling you can't take away from someone.
All right. So let's talk more on the career bit of it, so to speak. You moved without having a job offer lined up, correct? You moved to
Yeah.
start the job.
So I had been in contact with companies and people. However, most people wouldn't officially interview you properly until you're in the country, which is fair enough. So when I came, I had contacts, etc., etc. But it was when I actually got here, I started that process of properly applying. It was a bumpy road at first. The first school I got into last summer, so summer 24, didn't work out. I didn't stay past the probation period. It just wasn't the right fit. Wasn't me. I didn't fit the school. The school didn't fit me, as to say.
Well, how long was their probation period?
The probation period was I stayed about 5 or 6 weeks, and then but I think the
Okay.
probation period could have gone longer.
By the way, I hate that word probation period. That's for like
I
criminals
also
leaving
hate
jail.
it, and like it's so outdated. Like if you're good enough for the job, you take me on. You don't put me on trial.
Yeah, but also it's like, listen, those are words for criminal cases. Like, I'm just trying to get a job. I mean, like, it's like kind of
So,
against you as soon as you get there,
but yeah,
which
so
are
once that ended, I was kind of slumped. I was like doubting myself. I was like, am I doing the right thing here? Like nothing's going right, etc. But I had to do a visa run at that point, so I did a visa run. I took some time off just to enjoy and travel, and then I came back to Vietnam.
Mhm.
And actually, I think I had my interview for the job I just like my previous job, the job I just left,
Mhm.
while I was in Cambodia on my visa run. Um,
And tell us, say what a visa run is, just so people
oh,
are
sorry.
clear.
Yeah, so a visa run is so my visa ended. I was on a 3 month visa because you can only get a long-term visa once you have a stable job because of all
Mm.
the paperwork. Um,
Yes.
so my 3 month visa ended. So I left. I took a week's trip to Cambodia. And then I came back to Vietnam. And in that trip, I managed to have an online interview with Apollo English,
Okay.
which is one of the biggest English teaching companies here in Vietnam. And so that went really well. And then that's where I ended my first proper job in Vietnam.
All right. So that was the first job. And how long did you work at Apollo? Well,
I was
after the
there,
probation.
I was there a year. And then when I got my job I have now, I didn't renew my contract because that would have been too much of a heavy workload.
I see. And now where are you now?
So I now work at Sky International Preschool. So
Oh,
it is
cute.
it's very cool. It's very not your traditional Vietnamese curriculum. It follows a completely different method, but that's how I was trained to be a teacher back in Scotland. It's that method. It's the method that I am passionate in using to teach. So it's very child-led, play-based, and student-centered.
Mm.
So we're following, yes, I'm still teaching my children phonics and, reading and writing, but a lot of the day is also following their interests. What are they interested in? What can they learn from that?
Okay. And so your teaching before was in general education. When you moved here, it was to teach English specifically. So now are you doing like a combination of that, or are you more like a
Um,
traditional all things teacher?
I guess you could technically say I'm an all things teacher. Yes, I'm teaching my students phonics, so early stages of learning to read and write. But I also teach them everything else, science, numeracy, health and well-being, all the jazz.
Nice. All right. So if someone was not a trained teacher in their home country, but they were TEFL certified, what do you think the differences are? What do you think they should keep in mind when approaching a classroom in another country?
In another country.
Well, any country really, but they are going to another one if in this
Yeah,
scenario
that
talking
it
about.
is going to be that is most likely going to be different from how you teach or work in a classroom in your home country. Things
Mm.
can be, yes, all children learn the same subjects to an extent, but the way things work in a classroom, sorry, and the cultures make it a very different experience at times.
Okay. And is there a way to get a mentor, or do you really just learn on your feet? I mean, of course, we befriend people, but we might not. We might not. Depends on
I
the
think
company we're.
that depends on the company. I'm lucky enough that I do have a mentor in my current job. I was lucky enough in Apollo to not have an official mentor, but there was someone always, checking up and making sure I was doing all right, etc. Um, so yes, if you're lucky enough, you do have a mentor or someone to guide you and make you sure you're doing on the right track.
And if someone wants to come and teach English, what would you say to them? As someone who's taught many subjects as well as English, you know how to teach one and also how to teach different subjects. What do you think they should know or think about if they're really going to do this?
I'm going to make a very bold statement here.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people come into doing TEFL and teaching abroad because they think it's going to be an easy ride and it's going to be a really great experience. But as a proper trained teacher myself, it's not easy. So personally speaking, I think you need teaching experience on your back to be able to teach
100%.
effectively, especially not in your home country.
100%. How do you think volunteer programs can relate to this if they can? Would
As
that count as
in,
teaching, or would you count that as teaching experience?
to an extent, yes, because I look back to my volunteering experience and I was so, like, it's almost embarrassing to look back at because I was so inexperienced and young at that point.
Yeah,
But
we
that's
all.
it is the moment, but that's the experience that almost sparked my interest and sparked that switch. Actually, this is the path I want to go down. Because
Nice.
everybody has to start somewhere. You have to start inexperienced somewhere. So yeah.
100%. So what was your volunteer experience, like what, your particular program? When I went, I helped out at Friendship Village, which is a residential community for people affected by Agent Orange. And I've returned. I really like it. But where did you, I know CSDS has many different programs. So where did you go?
Yeah, so I was based in a kindergarten. So I was helping teach them basic English and just taking care of them day or throughout the day, sorry. Looking back, I enjoyed it, but are those connections, what's the word I'm looking for? Healthy for a child? Because to be able to teach a child effectively, you need a strong rapport with them.
That's true. How long were you there?
I was there for 6 months, so I was there relatively long compared
That's
to other people that may volunteer around the world. But yeah, in hindsight, looking back, now that I am a more experienced teacher, I wonder just actually how effective was that to an extent.
I can see that. I also think as many adults being able to, qualified adults being able to give kids attention is also worthy because
For sure.
just need so much care. And yeah, I think of, I used to do program delivery New York, which was we'd go for a few mornings and do an amazing program. And, we would get to know the kids because we would come 3 days in a row. And I once asked my friend who was a teacher, like, how do you handle this? I'm a little worn out after just 3 days. And she's like, well, when you know the kid full time, you develop looks. Like,
Mhm.
you don't have to say much. They're starting to fight. It's like, oh, I'm not with them long enough to develop the code. So,
Yeah.
like, I have to talk all the time.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so I can see what you mean with that. So, well, that's very cool. Yeah. I think, yeah. And also, I've volunteered with classrooms because I know in New York, and I know in many countries, there's a certain amount of adults are needed, qualified adults need to be in a classroom per two children.
Yeah, there's a
So if they want to have a full class, then they need to make sure they have enough adults. And I myself, like, we be CPR AED certified, and I'm also an FO3 fire guard,
so you had
which,
the qualifications, yeah.
yeah, which is I can do basic safety procedures, make sure things aren't blocked, make sure no one's plugging in their electrical scooter. By the way, don't do that indoors. Just that's my safety thing. I don't know if electrical scooters are out there in
No, we don't have, or
they
not in the classrooms anyway.
no, and they shouldn't be. You're not supposed to do them indoors, which we spend a lot of time telling people to take these scooters out of here. That's one thing I do like about Vietnam. It's like when it's the rule, they just say the rule and that's it.
It's
Never
yeah,
mind your
it's
feelings.
right.
I love that. Hey, get that out of here. That's here. No, not there. It's like, okay, they'll get out. I do like that about Vietnam. You say this is what it is, and they're like, oh, you're right. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
So all right. So any last words of advice for people who are thinking of teaching English?
If you're thinking about doing it, I would give it a go because you never know what experience you're going to get. And if you don't take that experience and take that jump, maybe you'll regret it years down the line.
That's true. I would say also get TEFL certified first
Yes,
in your
for
country.
sure. Make sure do have some sort of TEFL or teaching certificate also. That helps you greatly in being able to find good opportunities.
Finding opportunities, but also for you to understand what
To
you're doing.
understand what you're teaching,
Yeah.
yes.
Because as I was saying earlier with you, it's like I took the TEFL, and it's when you realize that just because you speak and you can teach someone else how to speak English
Exactly.
necessarily. It will take you through it. And business English is different than conversational English.
For sure.
And if you don't teach someone business English properly, they might lose an opportunity for want of a really effective teacher. So I guess
So
there's different kinds of English they should be
yeah,
thinking
you're
about.
right. And actually, just as I was leaving Apollo, someone said that they're going to start, sorry, more thorough checks on native speakers
Mm,
because yes, yes, English can be your mother tongue, but actually, if you're to do a lesson and teach grammar, do you know what the hell is going on to be able to teach a theory behind it and why it's this way and that way?
exactly. And one example we were talking about is like how we will always say big brown dog, but we don't say brown big dog. And that's because having spoken it, we've picked up how
Yeah,
the accepted order is. But how do you teach that to somebody else when
exactly.
they're all descriptions? And honestly, every generation's a little different too. I was at work and we were counting the cash box, and she's like, oh, well, I'm like, oh, are you going to count it by denomination? And she said, I don't know what that means. And this is a basic word in the English language to someone who only speaks English. So I'm like, if you cannot communicate
Yeah,
that to two people ostensibly speaking the same language, you need to be really on point, speaking with someone who English is their second language. Actually, and you know what? English is actually my second language, which a
yeah.
lot of people are surprised about. But I grew up in a bilingual home and I spoke Urdu first.
Yeah.
But so I can speak English without an accent and still not know all the slang, all the phrases, or new words, things like that, or how to
Exactly.
spell. For a long time, my mother did not know pharmacy began with a P,
But
because she heard it.
so many
She didn't
people
read
don't
it.
because they hear the f
So,
and
like,
think of a f. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's what I'm
yeah, it's
realizing
like, and
now.
that's, yeah. And you will hear people, if you ever hear someone, this is a good point that someone told me once. If someone mispronounces a word while speaking it, understand that they read it. They probably saw
Exactly.
it first read with no one to tell them. So it's
No,
like you got to give room for that.
Yeah, that's like me currently teaching my children phonics. Okay, we're doing the sounds of the letters, we're blending it together to make the words, but you have to explain why does that letter make that sound to then connect to that sound to help them to be able to read properly.
Okay. Do you ever reference Sesame Street? I love Sesame Street.
I do not know, or not yet anyway.
The old school. I'll find clips of it on Sesame Street and where they do phonics. There used to be two little Muppets that would go at, ha, at, hat, hat together, and they'd form the word so that you could hear all the different
For the
letters.
different sounds,
That
yeah.
Sesame Street was created. It's set in New York for like immigrant children and young children to one see themselves, but also learn English and
Ah,
sometimes
I knew it
Spanish.
was based in New York, but I didn't realize it was just as that meaningful. Sorry.
Yeah, and actually, the old school Sesame Street, which I'm 52. I grew up. They would show laundry hanging in the it was this is how people lived, and I'm like I appreciate it. We had and there was a deaf actress named Linda on it who did ASL for American Sign Language. So
Yeah.
for so many of us, we were like, wow, look at Linda. They weren't the deaf person; they were Linda. So it's like they just celebrated their 56th anniversary, Sesame Street. So
Oh,
I'm
there
very yeah. And then the last thing, if I love this clip from I Love Lucy, which is 70 years. It's called Down the Line Translation, the importance of knowing more than one language. So Lucy goes to France. She only speaks English. She accidentally passes off some counterfeit money, and the lieutenant only speaks French. So they get her husband, who speaks Spanish and English, to come in and help, but he can't speak French. So then they get a drunk out of the jail who speaks Spanish and German. They get the second lieutenant who speaks German and French, and then they can finally
through the
plead her
line they can get.
case. So it is brilliant, and I often use it with my my English students myself. We love it. It's yeah. So yeah, thank you, Kirstin, for sharing everything today.
You're welcome.
Yay! Yay for CSDS volunteers! Woo! Past, former, past, present, future, all of them.
Shout out
And
to you
this
all.